In today's world, data breaches happen all the time, and even the most secure companies can't always protect their employees' personal information from ending up in the wrong hands. That's where Delete Me comes in. Delete Me is a service that removes your employees' sensitive information from hundreds of data broker websites, sites where hackers can find phone numbers and emails within seconds. Rachel Toback, CEO of Social Proof Security, says attackers use this data to target employees with phishing messages and AI-powered phone scams. But Delete Me makes it harder for these bad actors by scrubbing your employees' details regularly. It's simple. Attackers are lazy. If it's too hard to find contact info, they'll move on to easier targets. Delete Me takes care of this for you, doing the heavy lifting so you don't have to. And over time, they keep removing the information so it stays down, protecting your team from constant exposure. If your business has a social presence or deals with clients, you need Delete Me. Visit deleteme.com/404media and start safeguarding your team's information today. That's deleteme.com/404media.
Hello, and welcome to the 404 Media Podcast, where we bring you unparalleled access to hidden worlds, both online and IRL. 404 Media is a journalist-founded company and needs your support. To subscribe, go to 404media.co, as well as bonus content every single week. Subscribers also get access to additional episodes where we respond to their best comments. Gain access to that content at 404media.co. I'm your host, Joseph, and with me are the 404 Media co-founders, Sam Cole.
Hello.
Manuel Mayberg.
Hey, what's up?
And Jason Kebler.
Hello. Reminder, a week from now, well, a Monday, we're going to have our party at South by Southwest. So it is coming up. This is the last pod before that. If you're going to be in Texas, come see us at the Speakeasy. We'll include reservation information in the show notes again, but we're very excited.
Yeah, and now have a little bit more detail on where exactly, timing, and all of that sort of thing. Me and Emmanuel won't be there, but Jason and Sam will be. And to be honest, it's probably for the best because they will make it a lot more fun than if me and Emmanuel were there. I don't know. Maybe I'm being too harsh.
Brutal. We also have hats back in stock. A lot of people were asking, but we've re-upped on hats. So if you want to buy a 404 Media hat, they're in our Shopify store.
Will we have those at the event?
Yes.
Okay.
But if you don't want to fly to Texas for a hat, I will mail you one.
I guess we can use shipping. Yeah, I suppose. Whatever. Okay. So let's go with the first story. Facebook Cybertruck owners. I can't believe I botched the headline. I got the cadence all wrong. Facebook Cybertruck owners group copes with relentless mockery, like I'm about to after reading that. The headline kind of explains itself, and we'll get into that. But first of all, Jason, what is this broader context of, whoa, these protests against Tesla and Cybertrucks and Musk, they've really taken off in the past week. Like, what's the context that we're coming into this with?
Yeah, so the context is that people are mad that Elon Musk is destroying the federal government, firing people, has aligned himself with the far right in various countries in the United States, is sort of an unelected, I guess, self-appointed bureaucrat who in many cases is like self-dealing in the federal government. Like there's this big story recently about how Starlink is going to take over this critical FAA communications contract from Verizon. And that's just like, there's news every single day. And so people have been thinking like, how can we push back against what is happening? Because Democrats in Congress are not doing a very good job pushing back against this. And so there's been this movement called the Tesla takedown protests, where people are protesting at Tesla dealerships, mostly on weekends, it seems, like Tesla showrooms and Tesla dealerships, and they're just picketing out front. But there's also been kind of like some defacement occurring either as part of this or as just like other types of self-done protests. So there was someone in Colorado who threw Molotov cocktails at a Tesla dealership, for example. In Massachusetts, someone lit a Tesla supercharger on fire. There's been a lot of like graffitiing at various places. I think there were 9 people arrested at a Tesla takedown protest in Manhattan over the weekend. And so these are really growing. Like these protests are really growing. And I think part of the entire point behind it is that a huge amount of Elon Musk's power and net worth is wrapped up in Tesla. And it's a publicly traded company. The stock has actually been cratering over the last couple of weeks.
Sales have plummeted in Europe by like 50, 65%.
In Europe.
Yeah.
I'm very curious to see what sales are going to look like in the United States next time. Next time they report. And then there's also just like this idea that a lot of Elon Musk's power is derived from Tesla, and Tesla's stock valuation is really high, not because it is a super profitable car company, but because it has this promise of being like a robo-taxi company, a robotics company, an AI company. And all of that is very, very speculative. And so Tesla is I wouldn't call it a meme stock necessarily, but a lot of people are sort of investing in Tesla as a way of investing in Elon Musk. And so the thought is, if you can like tank Tesla, you can kind of take a lot of power away from Elon Musk. So that's kind of like the broader context here.
Super briefly, do you think that is accurate? Or maybe, is that accurate? Like, if people attack Tesla, it could take power away from Musk? Or is it like, I don't know, the company is getting so big and now he's in government and he has Starlink and all this, like it may not be wholly effective? And I'm not saying these people shouldn't be protesting. They can protest, of course, about whatever they want. But like, do you think it could be effective? Or is it hard to say yet?
So last week, the really good podcast, Tech Won't Save Us, had an entire episode about this where they had on the author of a book called, I believe it's called Ludicrous, and it's about Tesla. And I thought that was a very interesting podcast. If you're interested in going like deep on this, I mean, the thought is that like Elon Musk doesn't have a lot of liquid assets. His biggest path to liquidity is through selling Tesla stock. And it's like he has a lot of money kind of like stuck in Twitter, which is now a private company. He has a lot of money stuck in SpaceX, which is a private company. And so it's not very liquid. And so like Elon Musk is going to remain an incredibly powerful person regardless. I think that SpaceX on its own is a massive, massive company that is currently like the United States' only way of getting to space. Well, I guess now we have Blue Origin and some other ones, but they're mainly the ones that are doing U.S. government satellite launches and taking astronauts to the space station, and that has remained the case for a while. And so I think also Starlink is becoming increasingly important, both like geopolitically, but also as a consumer product. Like it's being taken up by a lot of people in rural areas. And so I don't think that you can like tank Elon Musk entirely by tanking Tesla, but it would certainly help a lot. I
Sure.
think, yeah.
Sure. So there's all that context. People are understandably very annoyed at Musk and are targeting Tesla very fairly, and Cybertrucks as well. You then go and find this Facebook group specifically for Cybertruck owners. And you go in there, and I think you said there are broadly 2 types of post. What are those 2 types, basically?
That's funny. So there's 2 types of posts in the Facebook Cybertruck owners group. One is people talking about like strangers flicking them off or writing on their Cybertrucks. Like these Cybertrucks attract dirt a lot of the time and like salt and things like that. So people are like writing things in them like with their fingers, and people like just sort of messing with Cybertrucks, and we'll talk a lot about that. And then the other type is like people who own construction companies or roofing companies who have wrapped them using, it's like vinyl wrap, like where you change the color of the car, and they basically put like advertisements for their like roofing company on there. So there's been like some MAGA wraps and stuff like that.
Right. But and I don't fully understand why, but there's like a type of guy who is buying these and they're a small business owner, which is great, but they're all buying wraps for their Cybertrucks. Like, why? I mean, I guess you don't know why that's a thing, but it's a thing apparently in this group.
Well, it is, but I think also it's like a lot of the protests and ad hoc, like, fuck Tesla sentiment has been directed at Cybertrucks in particular. And I think there's a few reasons for that. It's like, one, they're ridiculous vehicles. Like, they're just gigantic. They're not even allowed in Europe because they're too large. And so there's been this movement in the United States to have like larger and larger and larger SUVs, which are very dangerous for pedestrians, first and foremost. It's like you're way more likely to be killed if you're a biker or a pedestrian if you're hit by an SUV than you are a smaller car. And so that's not great. But also it's like the Cybertruck is bulletproof, or like he's advertised it as being like has bulletproof glass. Like he's advertised it as essentially like a tank that can keep you isolated from other people. And you kind of like sit in this like moving fortress. And I think that people don't like that, first of all. Like, I don't like that. I don't like seeing Cybertrucks around and be like, who is this? Why are you so much better than me? Because you think you're cool because you have a tank or whatever. And then there's also the fact that Cybertrucks were released after Elon Musk became a gigantic asshole and dickhead. Like,
there's no plausible deniability in the same way there is potentially with a Tesla, even though lots of owners now are trying to cover up their ownership, either with those stickers in, I think somebody tweeting from San Francisco says there's a lot of these stickers saying like, I bought it before we all knew about him. Well, then something I just shared in our chat is that it looks like some Tesla owners are putting different vehicle branding on their Teslas. So there's a Honda logo and stuff to make it look like a different brand of car so it can blend in. But you're right. And like Cybertruck is like unambiguously Musk. Like you basically have to be a Musk fanboy or an extreme edge case to own one of these vehicles. So you can see why people would target them. Yeah.
Right. I mean, for many years, if you bought an electric vehicle at all, you are probably buying a Tesla because they go the fastest, they have the best charging infrastructure, like the incentives to the tax incentives and things to buy them were very good. So I know and have met a lot of people who have like Tesla Model 3 or Tesla Model Y because they were like, oh, I want to protect the environment, blah, blah, blah. And a lot of those people are very regretful at this point because they didn't know what Elon Musk was going to become. And I think you can argue whether, they should have seen the signs earlier or not. But if you're buying a Cybertruck, you're sort of you're like definitely aligning with Elon Musk's broader worldview at this point. And so a lot of the anger that's been directed at Tesla and Tesla owners has been directed in this first wave at Cybertruck owners.
Sure.
And so, I mean, that's like a long way of saying there's this Facebook group where Cybertruck owners are bitching to each other constantly about how people are mean to them, how people are flicking them off, how people are writing cybercuck on their Teslas. Their cyberchode was another one that's good. People are putting like Nazi car. What's the other one? Tesla. It's not Test Nazi, but there's like a few different like swastika. Yeah. There's some of swastikars, and it's like a lot of people just coping with like, how often does this happen to you? And a lot of people are saying that they definitely are getting flicked off pretty often. I think acts of like where people are actually like vandalizing their cars in some way are a little bit more rare, but they definitely engender the most conversation on this Facebook group. And so there's lots of people talking about it. And it's a mix between people who sort of lean into it and say that they enjoy being a villain, and people who are like, I just want to drive to work, or my wife or my husband really doesn't like that when we're driving, people like honk at us and flick us off and stuff. And so now we need to get rid of our car because my spouse is mad at me.
Right. And to be clear, the people uploading these photos or videos or whatever into this Facebook group, they are the owners themselves, or as you say, maybe their spouse is the owner or the driver or whatever. So you mentioned that then there's almost two reasons why they're doing it as well. Like they kind of want to flex and revel in being a villain, or they're sort of, I don't know, just being really sad about it and asking each other what's sort of the conversations in response to that? Are people then pitching in and going, yeah, it's happening to me too, and this sucks? Or is anybody engaging with, the incredibly obvious and fair argument that Musk sucks? Is anybody engaging with that, or is it more about their own vehicles?
Some of them are like, wow, I really didn't bargain for this. And some people are saying, I don't always agree with Elon, or I wish he wouldn't do this. But I would say that a lot of people are now seeing it as like an identity symbol, where they're saying, I'm all in with Elon, I'm all in with Trump, cry harder libs. A lot of the discussion in there is like about the type of cars that are flicking them off. So a lot of times there'll be a video or photo and they'll say like, this person driving a Ford Fiesta flicked me off. They must be poor because a Ford Fiesta isn't expensive.
Right. They are really telling on themselves by bringing up the other car when the other car doesn't matter. It's the car you're driving. Okay. Right.
Exactly. And then, I mean, the other thing that I think is very important to talk about is, yes, it is the Cybertruck owners who are uploading these. And the way that they're uploading them is they're using this feature on Tesla cars called Sentry, which is when the car is parked, you can turn it into like a stationary surveillance camera situation, because every Tesla car has a bunch of outward facing cameras on it. And so they're just always filming. And like a Ring camera, you can go back and look at the footage. And so there's a lot of people who are posting videos of people drawing on their cars. There's one incredible video of a guy who walks up with a bunch of Kraft singles, like the little cheese slices, and he starts throwing cheese slices onto the truck's windshield. And, this guy was actually filming with his cell phone. You could see him filming with his cell phone. And then people in this group were screenshotting his face and talking about trying to use facial recognition on him, which is crazy. I have not seen I've seen a lot of people say we should use facial recognition on these people, but I have not seen a positively identified person that was done using facial recognition. However, there was one case in Texas where it was kind of an intense road rage incident, so I hesitate to defend this, but basically another driver got out of his car at a stoplight and flicked off the Cybertruck owner. They filmed it with all of the cameras that exist on the Cybertruck, and he was wearing the shirt of his employer. And so they then looked up on LinkedIn, that employer, found him on a group photo that was uploaded to LinkedIn, and then complained to his employer. And they claim that they got him fired. I don't know if that's accurate or not, but it was covered by the local news in Texas, that entire incident. And so I guess it's just we don't condone anything here, just reporting. But if you're gonna fuck with a Tesla in some way, just know that they're always recording.
I always think about that with Teslas when I walk by them. It just feels like walking by a big camera to me. It's like they're covered in cameras. So I always
they're covered in cameras bold. And they're facing every direction.
Yeah. And yeah, it's I don't know. It's I'm notoriously not an amazing driver, and which probably would surprise no one. And I always think about this when I'm parking pretty tight next to a Tesla. I'm if I nick this thing, they're going to see me do it. And it's going to be on camera. Or just, when people were doing this when Elon Musk, years ago, was kind of starting down this path, and people were fuck Teslas, and vandalizing them or keying them. I always thought that was really bold, because it's they can see you do that. It's on video. Which is very different from a normal car, obviously.
Yeah. Jason, I think just last thing, what happens now? I was going to ask, does it escalate? But you actually opened with someone throwing a Molotov cocktail. So I don't know. It's a big mess all around. But like, what do you think happens now? Do we just see more of these, or?
I would say that the backlash to Tesla in general is still increasing. It's like every weekend. I think they've been doing these Tesla takeover protests for maybe 3 weekends now. And I feel like each weekend they get more and more intense. There's more people involved. And I think also just sort of like the casual acts of flicking off Cybertrucks and stuff. This is something that people I know in my life were already like, I hate Cybertrucks. I always flick them off. Just of their own volition, they've told me this before I even wrote this article. So I think that this is becoming another part of the culture war, more or less. And so I think it's going to continue escalating. I mean, I don't know where this all goes. I could see acts of violence and things like that. I mean, certainly not condoning them, but you have people lighting superchargers on fire and throwing Molotov cocktails at dealerships. Like it's pretty intense already. And I think that there's no indication that Musk is going to slow down or that the temperature is going to come down on this anytime soon. I don't know. What do y'all think?
I mean, broadly agree that every day that Doge does something else and fires more federal workers or government gets made ironically more inefficient, it's an easy target, you know? Sam, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I don't see it getting more chilled anytime soon. I was thinking of it's like, what's the craziest thing that could escalate? This could escalate into, and it's like there's this company that came out of China. I think yesterday they announced that they're making a drone car. So a hatch opens on your roof, and a drone comes out. I was like, what if they start putting those in Cybertrucks? It's for obviously for recording, but it's like I'm going to drone strike the guy who cut me off type vibe. I have a lot of opinions about big cars in general. I think cars have gotten less safe in general. So the Cybertruck divorced from the culture war, I find to be confusing. But it's because it's wrapped up in this stuff. It's what people are talking about. So yeah,
I think it's funny that it's called a Cybertruck because it was referencing cyberpunk, right? And the whole idea is that it's built like a tank because it imagines this future where you, the person who can afford a Cybertruck, is driving through, these crime-infested cities where criminals are on every corner trying to harm you, and the only way you can survive is if you have this armored car that looks like a tank. And when he introduced that, people are like, you're nuts. It's like nobody cares about you or your car, and you don't need this, and like cities are safe and the world is safe and there's no need for this. But like somehow he managed to create a situation where it's like, yes, like maybe if you have a Cybertruck, people will hate you and will want to throw Molotov cocktails at your car. It's just like, I don't know. He created the car for the world he wants to see, and then in a way, like that world came about,
Yeah. I mean, he's manifested it. And I mean, I'll bring up another podcast. I was listening, I think, to Trash Future the other day, and they were talking about all these billionaires with their bunkers and things like that. And you have all of these billionaires that have been planning for the apocalypse because they're like, oh, the apocalypse is coming. But like they are the ones bringing it about. And that's really scary. I was just going to say, Sam said like cars are getting less safe, and they've gotten so much less safe for pedestrians and for bikers, and potentially like more safe for the people in them. And that's like it's such a huge problem where it's just like this individualistic society where it's like, fuck you, I have a tank and I can run you over if I want to. And there's a lot of that sentiment in this Facebook group as well. People are like, we need to film these people who are flicking us off and identify them and report them to their employers and things like that. And then there was one thread where they were discussing how do we respond to these protests, and people were like, let's all bring our Cybertrucks down and circle the protesters with them. And that's like really scary.
Well, but like make like a violent biker gang of Cybertrucks, basically. That'll go down well.
Yeah. I mean, people are like sort of out, like openly discussing like, let's intimidate them with our large vehicles.
Which
more
like
or
literally
less.
happened in Charlottesville, you know? It's like someone died that way, which is horrifying to think that people are like, we could do it again with our big,
Yeah.
stupid cars.
Yeah.
For sure. Well, we'll keep an eye on that. And unfortunately, I'm sure it will escalate in some form. But we'll leave that there. When we come back, we're going to take a hard pivot and talk about the lovely tropical island nation of Palau and how it is actually helping US traders circumvent, bypass, skirt crypto laws in the US. We'll be right back after this.
I always thought opening an online business or shop would be really complicated, requiring me to learn how to code and manage a backend. But with Shopify, starting your online store couldn't be easier. Take it from us. We sell our merch on Shopify and handle the online look and feel of our store, inventory management, and fulfillment all by ourselves using Shopify's unified, easy-to-use platform. Shopify has thousands of customizable templates, no coding or design skills required. All you need to do is drag and drop. Shopify's powerful social media tools let you connect all your channels and create shoppable posts to help you sell everywhere people scroll. With Shopify, it's easy to manage your growing business, ship your products, collect taxes, and manage payments from a single portal, so you can focus on the important stuff, like growing your business. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout we use with Shopify. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/media, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/media to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/media. Does anyone feel like March is just madness? There's just so much noise about everything right now. Whether it's the birds chirping away as spring wakes up or the more unpleasant sounds of the bombardment of trash coming from my TV, everything from my work to my workouts is getting interrupted. That is, until I found the Everyday Earbuds by Raycon. Raycon's active noise cancellation is capable of drowning out the most maddening of sounds. Raycon's Everyday Earbuds are your quieting sidekick for the gym, work, or phone calls, offering premium audio that goes where you go. I live in a pretty noisy area, so I even use my Raycons to listen to white noise or calming music when I'm trying to fall asleep. Raycon's latest model is better than ever, with a 32-hour battery life and multi-point connectivity that lets you pair with 2 devices at once. Speaking of battery, with Raycon's quick charge function, just 10 minutes of charging yields 90 minutes of battery. And Raycons start at just half the price as other premium audio brands with similar features. Raycon's Everyday Earbuds come in a spectrum of vibrant colors for style that complements yours. I have forest green, but maybe you're more of a deep red or an orange peel. Raycons have become a part of my everyday life. When I leave the house, it's phone, keys, wallet, and Raycon Everyday Earbuds. Go to buyraycon.com/404 to get 20% off the best-selling Everyday Earbuds. Brought to you by Raycon. buyraycon.com/404.
All right, and we are back. This is one I wrote. The headline is buying a $250 residency card from a tropical island. Let me bypass US crypto laws. So, as mentioned before the break, this is related to the Republic of Palau, which is a country in Micronesia near Indonesia and the Philippines. Very, very small population. And the president of Palau and this company we're going to talk about, they were thinking of new ways to bring money into the country. And you could do the Singapore model, which is you bring in millions and millions of people, but they didn't want to do that. They were kind of screwed over by COVID when that did the tourism industry. So they came up with this idea of launching a digital residency, where you could basically remotely become a resident of Palau. But before I go into this, has anyone heard of the Estonia one? I feel like, Jason, you might have heard of that, where Estonia said it was going to do this sort of thing.
Yeah, it was like a digital residency card, except I don't think I think they just sent you like a digital certificate there, whereas you got like an actual physical card here, which I think makes it more real.
Yes. So the Estonia one was years ago at this point, and I was like, oh, look, you can technically become a digital resident and you can open a company based, I'm doing air quotes for people not watching on YouTube, based in Estonia, and you can make your company that way. That is similar here, but it's way more crypto focused. And yes, as you said, they give you a physical ID, which I guess I'll try and hold up to the camera now for YouTube videos.
Beautiful.
The worst photo I've ever taken of myself, and you can see it on the article in the show notes. Really, really tired and not having my glasses on because they said you can't do that. It's like a passport photo.
Wait, should we have Palau trivia very quickly, like
Sure.
before we get into it? So Palau is my middle name, first and foremost, not from Palau, but it's my mom's name. And it means palace in Catalan, which is what they speak in Barcelona, just so you know. Survivor Palau was one of the first places that they did Survivor on. And
right, really? That's okay.
I mean, it was like maybe it was like the third or fourth season, maybe. Like it was pretty early on. And that's its only, those are its claims to fame. That's all I know about it. And now they offer digital residency.
Those are the claim to fame and bypassing US crypto laws. Right. So whereas the Estonia one was about making a company, this one was like, hey, we'll send you the... And actually, it's not just the ID. There's also all of this Web3 stuff where you put your identity on the blockchain, blah, blah, blah. I did not even mention that in the article because it's basically irrelevant, because there's all of this future-facing stuff that's like, it's not real. You know what I mean? But what is real is the ID card that they send you in the mail. So they say you can use this ID card for rentals. I don't know, maybe use it at Airbnb or something like that, checking in for hotels. And they have all of these other plans to let you have like a residential address in Palau as well. And I'll keep an eye on that. The main thing, and they advertise this explicitly on the website to get the ID with a company called RNS.ID. They say you can use it for KYC, know your customer. And this is where you go to a website, like a crypto exchange, and you verify your identity, right? If you want to sell Bitcoin or whatever, you have to go to the site, you give them, I don't know, your passport or your driver's license, you tell them where you are, and that's so, it's for anti-money laundering laws, but then also investigators can be like, well, there's really bad, suspicious stuff here. Here's a subpoena or a warrant to Binance or whoever. Give us the ID of that user. This is incredibly standard, obviously not just in the normal financial industry, but increasingly cryptocurrency as well. People who trade crypto don't really like that, it seems. They like to send their Bitcoin or their Ethereum or their Monero or whatever without linking their ID to it. And you are actually not able to use some exchanges in the US. One called KuCoin, KU Coin. You can't use that based in the Seychelles because they were told to get out of New York State, for example. You can't, without verifying your identity, access, unlimited or near unlimited trading or very large amounts, all of that sort of thing. So if you're a US trader and you want to withdraw $1 million of cryptocurrency every single day from an exchange that you're not actually allowed to use because you're based in the US, you can get the Palau card to do that, basically. And I've watched a ton of YouTube videos where people are saying this explicitly. Like, this isn't me interpreting the products. This is the
It's
Palau
what it's for, and it's what people are talking. They're like, use this hack, like quote unquote hack to get around KYC laws, right?
Yeah. So the ID people themselves, they're saying use it for KYC. All of these people on YouTube are saying like, you can use this to bypass US crypto laws by using it for KYC. So I found that interesting. I'm really into KYC stuff, especially when, more than a few months ago at this point, maybe a year ago, I guess. But we did that story about how some underground website was developing photos of fake IDs with allegedly neural networks. And, here's a fake ID to create an account. It's basically the same thing, but the account's not fake. It's very real. I'm holding it in my hands, but it's from this government that's just like giving them out, basically, it seems. So I sent some money to this company. I did give it accurate information. I gave it my real name, real shipping address, all of that sort of thing, because I didn't want to actually commit fraud myself. Obviously, we always have to stay within the law. And I wasn't really testing that part of it. It was more, what can I do with this ID? So I do that. A few weeks later, it arrives in the mail. It comes in a very regal blue and gold envelope, which is nice. That arrives, and then got too busy to write about it for months, and then finally got round to it. But the last bit of the puzzle for me was taking it and seeing if you could actually do this on exchanges. In the same way we did that with the neural network generated ID document. It was, I just made an account, this case on KuCoin, because that's what people were talking about. Gave it my ID, said I was from Palau. It's like, well, what region of the world are you from? What country are you from? You select Palau, you select the ID, you send them a photo. It then does some facial recognition, which is really standard on any of these sorts of services, right? Both sort of grey market or entirely legitimate. And I don't know, maybe 15, 20 minutes later, something like that, it said, your identity has been verified. You can now withdraw $1 million from this account. If you have $1 million, obviously. It's more, it allows you to transfer great sums of wealth very, very quickly,
So I thought it was very interesting that, yes, like it works on KuCoin, but there's some of the bigger ones just straight up say, we're not taking a Palau digital residency card, right?
Yeah. So I pinged two of the main exchanges in the world, Binance and Kraken, who have all had their own problems, in various degrees, Binance especially. But I wanted to ask them, hey, people in the US, traders, are specifically buying this ID to bypass KYC. Would you allow this on the platform? Do you allow this on the platform? And I was kind of surprised in that both Binance and Kraken said, we've already banned this. Like, they already say, or heavily suggest, that it could be such an issue for KYC that they don't allow people to sign up to it. And Kraken even went a step further, and they said their concern was that the Palau ID could be obtained by sanctioned entities. That is people or entities on the US sanction list or whatever. And to be clear, I haven't seen any evidence that's actually happened, but I did email the ID company again, and I asked, Kraken says this, and I asked, has a sanctioned entity ever been given a Palau ID? And they didn't respond, which, I don't know, I feel like you could respond to that quite easily, considering responses to my earlier emails. But yeah, even though people are using this, the big exchanges were like, we don't want anything to do with it, essentially, which I found interesting,
I think also, I haven't followed this that closely, but I think you followed it a little bit more closely. Trump was elected with the support of a lot of crypto bros in the United States and a lot of crypto money. And he's talked about like bailing out Bitcoin, which we don't need to get into. But I'm curious if you think that Trump's approach to KYC is going to touch crypto in some way, or if you've looked into that.
Well, I think that a lot of people in crypto hope it does. As you say, Trump has generally been a very pro crypto president. Most recently, with the further announcements, I guess, of like a strategic crypto reserve, right? Which he's hinted at before, but then said it again more recently. I think posted a tweet about it, and then what was it, a few minutes later tweeted, I mean specifically Bitcoin and Ethereum, because the price wasn't going up, and then the price went up when he actually made a post naming the cryptocurrencies. And of course, the cryptocurrency industry has poured a ton of money into Trump and to getting him elected. So I think the industry really hopes that more people basically get involved in crypto. And if it's this way, it's this way. If it's another way, you can do that as well. But one of the people I spoke to, one of these US traders, one of the YouTubers, a guy called Ben from DeFi Rebels, he said he was concerned that more big exchanges would ban the Palau ID. But then he said, quote, with a pro-crypto administration now in the US, we might see some more exchanges start allowing non-KYC trading again. And he's probably right, or he's right in that might happen. That would also be totally crazy. Like, to go from this space where people have to give their ID to exchange cryptocurrencies, because then, of course, the FBI or law enforcement or anyone else can come in and stop money laundering, to like completely get rid of that would be insane. And I don't even mean from a personal perspective. I almost mean just more in what the impact could be. And I mean, it could even delegitimize the industry again. I don't really know. But that's what people are hoping for. Absolutely. All right. Let's leave that there. I will say, if you know anything else about KYC or bypasses or anything like that, I'm always interested, so please reach out. If you are listening to the free version of the podcast, I'll now play us out. But if you are a paying 404 Media subscriber, we're going to talk about a pretty catastrophic error with Instagram and Instagram Reels that ended up showing a hell of a lot of people stuff that they probably shouldn't have seen and certainly didn't want to see. You can subscribe and gain access to that content at 404media.co. As a reminder, 404 Media is journalist-founded and supported by subscribers. If you do wish to subscribe to 404 Media and directly support our work, please go to 404media.co. You'll get unlimited access to our articles and an ad-free version of this podcast. You also get to listen to the subscribers-only section, where we talk about a bonus story each week. This podcast is made in partnership with Kaleidoscope. Another way to support us is by leaving a 5-star rating and review for the podcast. That stuff really helps us out. We've got a lot of those recently. We'll read some out soon. This has been 404 Media. We'll see you again next week.